Welcome to today's session, the 17th of December it is, on Codecademy. Looks like the weekly target starts, because I did a day yesterday. So it must start, on Monday. So if you do Monday and no other day, you'll have done one day. So I'm doing the course called Learn Python Free, and the current module I'm on is lists, things where we have elements in square brackets. I'm going to click resume. Sorting lists. Often, we will want to sort a list in either numerical 1, 2, 3 or alphabetical A, B, C order. We can sort a list using the method .sort. Suppose we have a list of names. So we have a list called names, and assigned to it we have this value. And the value is a list construct. Xander, Buffy, Angel. Notice the spelling, Angel, E-L. Imagine an angel with hair gel. The things which are a property of two sides of a shape are angles. Willow and Giles. So 5 elements in this list. Let's see what happens when we apply .sort. Obviously those are not in order. We've got Xander first. Xander should be at the end if it's alphabetical, and so on. So if we do names, the name of the list, .sort, and we don't have to put in any anything into the space between the rounded brackets where we can feed in arguments, so they've just left it blank. And if we then print names, it would output this list: Angel, Buffy, Giles, Willow, and Xander. So we've got them in alphabetical order now. As we can see, the .sort method sorted our list of names into alphabetical order. .sort also provides us the option to go in reverse. Instead of sorting in ascending order, just like we just saw, we can do so in descending order. So we can do names.sort and reverse equals true, and then print names. And if we did that, we would get Xander, Willow, Giles, Buffy, and Angel. Note, the .sort method, so that's reverse equals true, the .sort method does not return any value, and thus does not need to be assigned to a variable, since it modifies the list directly. So this is really interesting, okay? It's about when when we need to assign things to variables. Presumably, if we did assign it to a variable, it would be okay, but they're saying you don't have to. If I print names, I don't actually get names as it was originally ordered with Xander first and then Buffy. If I print names, what I get is this changed version of names. So names is changed by this. It's not just a sort of informational method. It's not just names.sort. The thought might be that .sort can tell you a fact about the list, namely what the list would be like were it to be sorted into alphabetical order. So it gives you information, but it doesn't actually change the list. So that's one thought. And then you'd have to do sorted list equals has assigned to it names.sort, and then you'd have to do print sorted list. But we're saying no, if you do print names, it will print the changed list. So this has changed it. This isn't just informational, this .sort method. Let's experiment with sorting various lists. Instructions. 1. Use .sort to sort addresses. If I look at the console, the code integrated development environment here, I can see I've got a comment saying checkpoint 1 and 2, checkpoint 3, and a comment saying checkpoint 4 and 5. For the first comment, I've got a variable called addresses, and I've assigned to it this list of elements. So we've got the first element, a string which says 221 Baker Street, 221B Baker Street, 42 Wallaby, which is the residence of the Sherlock Holmes, 42 Wallaby Way, 12 Grimald Place, 742 Evergreen Terrace, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, I think that's the White House, and 10 Downing Street, which is the residence of the sitting UK Prime Minister. Names so that's one list. We have names, which has Ron, Hermione, Harry, Albus, and Sirius. The characters in J.K. Rowling's novels. And we have cities: London, Paris, Rome, Los Angeles, and New York. And they've done sorted cities and assigned to that cities.sort. So use .sort to sort addresses. That's our mission. Okay. So I'm going to say addresses .sort, and that's it. Remember, it takes action, the method. I don't have to assign it to a variable name. Run, and now we get a tick. Good. Now 2. Use print to see how addresses changed. So I'm going to say print addresses. So again, we have 221 Baker Street, 42 Wallaby Way, 12 Grimald Place. This example is interesting because we have strings which contain letters, but it so happens that the beginning of all these strings is a number. So we have to think about how we arrange words if the first character of the word, or the first character of the term, shall we say, the first character of the expression, is actually a number character. Does 2 come... So I think lower numbers will come before higher numbers, as is usual. So we have a 1 for 10, that will come first. Then 1 6 for 1600, which is Pennsylvania Avenue. No, 1 0, then 1 2 Grimald Place. Then 1 600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Is that right? How do we sort numbers? So here's 2 possible ways we could do it. We could say we could treat them as numbers and just do the smallest number first. So in that case it would be 10, 12, 42. But here's an alternative thought. You might think, well, actually we should focus on what's in the second character position. And if we focus on the second character position and only think about whether that digit is lower, then it should be 10, 12, and then 1600, because the thought is 1600 gets to be in the third position in virtue of having a 1 in the first digit position. And so the thought is that whatever is in the first digit position, if there is a 1 and then any number which happens to have a 1 as the first digit position will come first and be with all the other numbers with 1 in the first digit position, regardless of how big the actual number is. So 1600, which is quite a big number relatively, will actually come before 42. What would you say if you had to guess now? I think it will do it by size of number, actually. So I think it will be 10, 12, then 42, then 221, and I think the White House will actually be, which is 1600, will actually be pushed quite late. So let's print addresses and find out. That's my guess. Oh, I'm wrong. It does it in a very sort of logical and I'd say not everyday way. So it actually does put 1600 third position. Okay, so because the thought probably is that that's more in line with what we do when we're sorting letters alphabetically. We take it character by character. It's not about the size of the word, is it? Aardvark will come before abacus, and A will come before aardvark, and it's nothing to do with what's denoted by the word aardvark. It's not to do with that animal. It's not to do with what's denoted by the word abacus, the actual objects. It's not to do with how long the word abacus is compared to the word aardvark. And in the same way, it's nothing to do with the number denoted by 1600. It's about where the characters fall in relation to one another. So yeah, 1, 1, 1, all the numbers with 1 in the first position get priority. Then if there are any with 2, they'll come next. There are none with 3, and so on. 3. Remove the hash and white space in front of the line sort names, which we can see is here. Edit this line so that it runs without producing a name error. So I'm first going to remove that hash. So what should happen? Well, it should change the order of these names so that Albus comes first, and then Harry, and then Hermione. But there's no print statement, so it's not going to tell us that it's done that, but it will change the order of the elements in list. So I'm just going to do control and do run, and we get this red ink saying trace back with the most recent call last. This file, in speech marks, it says script.py. On line 9 in the module, there's an error with this sort names function. And it says it's what it is a name error. The name sort has not been defined. Do you mean sorted? And you can see we did do that wrong. We did sort and then fed in as an argument names. And actually, I'll admit, I didn't flag that. I thought that was the way it worked, and it's not the way it works. So the way it works is you put the name of the list, and then you run the method on the object. Names isn't the argument. Names is the name of the thing. So the way it works is we call the method on the object. We're applying the function to this object. It's not but the object isn't the input. That's just the convention. I suppose you can imagine that that it was the input, but it's not the way it works here. 4. Use print to examine sorted cities. So you can see down here we have cities, and then we say we're going to assign to sorted cities cities.sort. Why is it not the sorted version of cities? So if we do... Right, so let's do print sorted cities. Okay, so it just comes back with none. So the question is why? Why is it not the sorted version of cities? We've said sorted cities has assigned to it cities.sort. .sort, which is the 5 items put into alphabetical order. Why not? 5. Edit the .sort call on cities such that it sorts the cities in reverse order, descending. So, what do we write? Descending equals true? Like that? Is that right? No. No, reverse. Reverse. So when you're doing sort, it's reverse equals true. Let's try that. No, we're still not getting that. Why? Because I said earlier that maybe you can assign it to a variable. We said you don't have to assign the result of the method to a variable, but maybe you can. So maybe you have to not do that. Cities.sort, reverse equals true, print cities. Does that at least work? Yeah, that works. We now have Rome, Paris, New York, Los Angeles, London, which is not the original order, so that's good. And I can tell you, if you're not familiar with the alphabet, that is reverse alphabetical order. It goes L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V. So L is earlier, then the N, then the P, and then the R. Done. Okay, this is our second lesson on sorting lists. A second way of sorting a list in Python is to use the built-in function sorted. The sorted function is different from the sort method in two ways. It comes before a list instead of after, as all built-in functions do. And it generates a new list rather than modifying the one that already exists. So let's return to our list of names. And as we'll come back to this and we'll try to think about how we might remember that it's sorted that has these specific different properties. We'll come up with a technique to remember that. Let's return to our list of names. So names has assigned to it Xander, Buffy, Angel, Willow and Giles. Using sorted, we can create a new list called sorted names. Sorted names has assigned to it sorted, and then we pass in as an argument names. And that's the point they were making before, when they said it comes before a list instead of after, as all built-in functions do. I think that's the point they were making. The point they were making was you name the function first, then the list is treated as like the input because it's a built-in function. That's the idea. So there's something about the fact that this function is built in that means that we treat the whole list as an input. I suppose the better way to think of it is with when the function is not built in. Well, it means it's kind of an extra thing. It's a special thing. It's sort of outside. It's not built in. Well, in those situations, we're sort of latching it onto the object. So when it's not built in, we'd have to do names.sort. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because if you do .sort, you're pretty much literally latching on the function. So that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? The way we write it and the fact of whether the function's built in. So we've assigned to this variable sorted names the result of having sort of flushed our list through the sorted function that's built in. And if we then print the sorted names variable name, we'll get Angel, Buffy, Giles, Willow, Xander. Xander at the end, Angel at the beginning. Note that using sorted did not actually change names. So it kind of created a new variation. If we print names, we've still got Xander and Buffy and Angel at the front. Instructions. I suppose the technique for remembering that it's sorted that acts this way is just that sorted is a longer word, and it's like ed is added on. It creates a new addition. Okay, so sort, what's the difference between the word sort and sorted? Well, you've got a new addition with sorted, and that's how it behaves. It creates a new list, a new version of the list, a new addition of the list. So 1. Use sorted to order games and create a new list called games sorted. So there's our games list. We have Portal, Minecraft, Pac-Man, and LMNOP. So the Minecraft word should be coming first if it's alphabetical, or at least before the P's. So we're using a built-in function, so I'm already thinking I'm not going to do games dot. I'm going to say, well, I want to flush this games list through this built-in function that's part of the order, the establishment. So I'm going to say sorted, and then with respect for the fact that the function is built in, we just pass in the humble games list. And we can assign this to a variable called games sorted as per the instructions. And that's all it asks me to do. 2. Print both games and games sorted. How are they different? And I'll just put my code below where it tells me to put it. So I can say print games and also print games sorted. Well, we can see that games has Minecraft muddled amongst the P's, but if we look at the result of print games sorted, everything's in alphabetical order. Sorted. Review. In this lesson, we learned how to add elements to a list by index using the .insert method, Remove elements from a list by index using the .pop method. Generate a list using the range function. It's not a method, it's a function. Get the length of a list using the len function. Select portions of a list using slicing syntax. Count the number of times that an element appears in a list using the .count method. And we learnt how to sort a list of items using either the .sort method or the sorted function. As you go through the exercises, feel free to use print to see changes when not explicitly asked to do so. So it looks like now we're going to put all of this together. 1. Our friend Geo has been so successful in both the flower and grocery business that she has decided to open a furniture store. Geo has compiled a list of inventory items into a list called inventory and wants to know a few facts about it. First, how many items are in the warehouse? Save the answer to a variable called inventory len. So I think it's count. So I can do I'm going to try inventory.count, and this is a bit of a revision session really, I may be wrong. Count, is that right? Inventory.count, and we can assign that to inventory len. Inventory underscore len. So inventory len equals inventory.count. Is that right? No. So it says you've made a type error. List.count takes exactly one argument. So if we do, well, what argument do I need to provide? It seems that you've encountered a type error in your Python code. The error message indicates that the list.count method was called without any arguments on line 3. The count method requires exactly one argument, which is the item you want to count in the list. To fix this, you should specify the item you want to count in the inventory list. Here's the full corrected code. Well, that's not what I want to do, so it looks like I made a mistake there. I thought that count was about counting how many items in the list, which is interesting to know that that's how I could think. So I think I need to do inventory.len. Let's try that. Control and enter. Nope. List object has no attribute len. Really? So len is more of a sort of built-in function, so you do len and then feed in the name of the list. So you're on the right track. Control enter. I'm going to do control and enter. Now what? Inventory len has assigned to it len of inventory. Len of inventory. Okay, and then we need to print inventory len. Control and enter. Okay, 19. 2. Select the first element in inventory. Save it to a variable called first. Okay, so I'm going to say first has assigned to it inventory 0. The 0th position. Okay. 3. Select the last element from inventory. Save it to a variable called last. So I'm going to say last has assigned to it inventory and then -1. 4. Select items from the inventory starting at index 2, the third thing along, and up to, but not including, index 6. That's up to and not including index 6. Save your answer to a variable called inventory26. Okay, inventory26 is going to have assigned to it inventory, and it wants us to use a slice. So we're going to go from starting at index 2, so we want that as the lower bound, all the way up to, but not including 6. So I'm going to type 6 and That's right, the unwanted upper means we don't actually include the thing in position 6. Save your answer to a variable called inventory26. 5. Select the first 3 items of inventory. Save it to a variable called first 3. First 3 will have assigned to it inventory and then 0 up to 2, the unwanted upper, no, so 3. So that will include the 0 for the first and the second, which is 3 things. It won't actually include the item at position 3 because of the unwanted upper. 6. How many twin beds are in inventory? Save your answer to a variable called twin beds. So twin beds will have assigned to it, the inventory.count, and now we can use .count, and I'm going to pass in as my argument, the thing you feed in to other people to influence the way they work. If you think about an argument, when lawyers make the case to the jurors, they're feeding in something. It's an argument. Twin beds. Twin beds. So there's a string, I've spotted it in the list called twin bed. So I'm going to type twin space bed. Will that work? Twin beds. Let's have a go. Remember, we should feel free to print. I'm going to print number of twin beds, colon space, and then I'm going to pass in the variable called twin beds, and let's see if that works. And we can see it says number of twin beds, colon 4, which is correct. Twin bed, twin bed, twin bed there, twin bed there. 7. Remove the 5th element in the inventory. Save the value to a variable called removed item. Presumably, when they say 5th element, they mean I should use index number 4. So I'm going to say removed item, we'll save to that, inventory.remove, is that right? I just think I'm grabbing that out of my head. .remove, and then how does this work? Do you pass in the name, the 5th element, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can I do that? .remove and then a 4? No. We'll get what's called a value error there. So pop, no, not .remove. Okay, .pop 4, try that. .pop 4, print removed item to check it, to get that verification, that validation. Print removed item, control enter. No. It looks like you have encountered a value error. The error message indicates that you are trying to remove an item from the list inventory that does not exist. You should ensure that the index you are trying to remove exists in the list. Well, there's definitely something at 4. In the corrected... Oh. In the corrected code, I used the pop method to remove the item at index 4, which is a more appropriate method for removing an item by index. Well, I've got a tick for this. To be honest, I thought what I had to do is reduce the size of this list by 1 and sort of print that list, which is still big but 1 smaller. But pop seems like it extracts it, because if I print removed item, or if I print removed item, then I get king bed. So it sort of takes the item out and focuses on the thing it's taken out. 8. There was a new item added to our inventory called 19th century bed frame. Use the .insert method to place the new item as the 11th element in our inventory. Okay, so I'm going to say inventory.insert Use the dot insert method to place the new item as the 11th element in our inventory. And I've forgotten how to do this. Maybe I go inventory 11, inventory 10, and then dot insert, and then put in 19th century bed frame. So the argument is the item I want added. Will that work? No. So what's gone wrong? This error occurs because you're trying to use the insert method on a string, like on a string object in line 19. To fix this error, you should ensure that you are calling insert on a list. Well, I am. And actually what you do is you do inventory.insert, and then there are 2 arguments in the function, in the method. So you do 10, comma, and then put in the string. So yeah, you don't call the method on inventory 10. It's not like you sort of home in on the particular aspect of the object and then call the method on that part of the object. You do just say inventory.insert, and then there's 2 different arguments to say A, where do you want it, and B, what do you want putting there. 19th century bed frame. Now if I do print inventory, print, I'm going to say print the string with bed frame, and I'll make sure that's on a new line. So you do \n with bed frame, colon, space, and then pass in inventory. Or do I need to save it to a new variable? So I've said with bed frame, and now we can see that we have 19th century bed frame in there. Let's just check it's in the right position. We want it to be the 11th item. So 0th, first, well no. We've said in English words that we want it to be the 11th element. So first element, so I'm going to refer to that as the first element because I'm adopting the frame of the sort of naive English speaker. First, second, third, fourth, I'm not referring to the index positions. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh for table, 8th for another table, 9 for nightstand, 10 for nightstand, and then 11th for the 19th century bed frame. So if I click run, we should get a tick. Yeah, 8 tick. 9. Sort inventory using the .sort method or the sorted function. Remember, the sorted function, it creates a new addition. The sorted function doesn't change the original list. It creates a new list with the elements properly sorted. Now, if you use sorted, you'll have to set inventory equal to the value returned by sorted. Print inventory to see the result. So I'm going to say inventory dot sorted. No, you're not. I'm going to use sorted and pass in inventory, and I'm going to assign that to sorted inventory, sorted underscore inventory, using the assignment operator. And then on the next line I can say print sorted inventory. Have I missed anything there? And I'm going to print it with some explanatory text saying sorted inventory colon space, and then pass in the variable sorted inventory, and I'm going to put that on a new line. Have I missed something there? Yes. So, first question, why are we getting, you've used a / so change it to a / and run. It says value for inventory did not match the expected value. What does that mean? It says the value for inventory did not match the expected value. Well, all I can say is that when we refer to inventory here and when we use that name inventory, what we're doing is are we referring to this thing here? Not exactly, because this thing doesn't, for example, have 19th century bed in it. So when we use it here, we're referring to a thing which has had something inserted into it, 19th century bed frame. We're referring to something that has had that has had one of the king. No. Okay, so here's the original, right? So we have, and I want to point out that king bed appears first here, and then it appears again here. So and then a third time here. So there are three mentions of king bed. Okay, so 1, 2, 2, and 3. And if we look at what we have printed with our sorted inventory, we have king bed, so 2 kings rather than 3 kings. So that's because pop did remove. So again, this list is slightly different and tarnished. We have 19th century bed frame there. We don't have one of the 3 king beds. And then all of these are just informational expressions. These just say, this is just the assigning of a fact to first, namely the fact about what is in the 0 position. These are just that's informative, it's not actually changing anything. So what does it mean when it says, when I do run and it says the value for inventory didn't match the expected value? Is it because I've changed it in a way I shouldn't have? Because it seems I have. I've removed king bed. I've added 19th century. So I can view an example solution here. So they do inventory.insert, and they do inventory.sort and print inventory. Did you we've made sure we're printing sorted inventory and not just inventory. Yeah, that would be a problem. We're printing the new version, and sorted inventory is the new version because we've assigned to it the sort of result of sorted. I really don't know. So here's a reminder of how you might use .sort or the sorted function. So if we did the method .sort, it would be like that, and if we did the sorted function, we would just do list as a name of a variable that we assign things to. So list has assigned to it, and then sorted with list being fed it. I'm not sure. So the value for inventory did not match the expected. So it's put a red background against, well, basically all the lines where I've decided to do a print statement, and it hasn't printed it, but that's okay. I'm allowed to print things. Twin beds equals inventory.count. Removed item has assigned to it inventory.pop4. That's what they did in their solution. Print inventory, they did inventory.sort. Okay, you know what? Maybe it's the fact that I use the sorted function. So let's do a method which is going to change that persistent object. So I'm going to do inventory.sort instead. I don't know why I was getting that error message really. Run. Okay. Run, and now I have to print inventory rather than sorted inventory now that I'm using the method, which just alters the object. It's not a function. And now I get the tick. Okay, I'm not sure why that happened. Okay, lesson complete. You earn 25 XP each toward your skills. And you can see that now we've got a new skill called data science, whatever that is, data science. We now have, does that mean we have 120 XP presently? We used to have 95, now we have 120, perhaps. Yeah, because you earn 25 XP towards all of them. So we've earned 25 XP for computer science, we've earned 25 XP for our Python skill, just slightly different skills, even though they overlap a lot. And we've earned 25 XP for data science. Which of the following lines of code will correctly sort my list? So remember, sorted creates a new version. It's a built-in function. Think about the one that's a method, so the one that's dot blah blah. Because it's on the object, because the method is on the object, and the way we write it suggests that it's blah 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 dot sort. It doesn't generate a new list. It doesn't generate a new edition of the list. It's sort without sort ed. So here we've got dot sort. So that's right. It's correct to do dot sort as opposed to dot sorted. Here we've got mylist.sorted. So that's wrong. The sorted is not a method. Sorted is the function. Mylist.sort, that's okay. But you can see that they've missed off the rounded brackets. And then here, sort, and then they fed in as the input to the function or the method, because a method is a special function. Method is just a special type of function. A method is still a function. Here they fed in as input, as the argument, my list. And that is wrong, because sort is the method. It should be dot sort. If you want to feed the name of the list in, you need to use sorted. So it's not going to be the fourth option, and it's not going to be the second option. And I think the reason it's the first option is just the fact that it's convention to make it clear that you're talking about a method by putting the rounded brackets. Even though you don't put anything in them, you still have to make it clear that you're writing a method, and the method is a function, so it's something capable at least of taking input. Complete the code to insert buffalo, notice the spelling B-U-F-F, and then there's no more double letters. Buffalo into a list called animals. Complete the code to insert buffalo into a list called animals as the fourth element. Again, I think it's a little bit sloppy that, because they've used ambiguous English writing. The English the words here that make up the sentence make an ambiguous sentence. When they say the fourth element, do they mean, are they using zero-based counting or not? It's not clear. Do they mean the fifth element along, which is in the 4 position, or do they mean the fourth element, which is in position number 3? It's not clear. The schema we have to fill is something dot something, and then we have the arguments, and there are 2 arguments we need to put into the rounded brackets. So first we name the object, animals, then we do the method on it, so dot insert, and then I think the position, you know what, I think they're using, because it's written in English, they're talking about the intuitive sense, so the way people use counting words, so you go first, second, so when they say the 4th element, I think they mean number 3, so I'm going to say 3, and I think we do the index position first, and then buffalo. Let's check if that's correct. Correct. So just remember, you do the number first when you're inserting. Which of the following lines of code will insert Gus as the middle element of the list friends? So we have a list called friends, Annabelle, Greg, Katia, and Sol. So we want to insert Gus as the middle element, so it will be the 0, 1st, 2nd, so number 2. So it's not going to be -2, it's not going to be -3, it's going to be number 2. There we go. Oh. You silly. We could use negative indexes, couldn't we? Negative indices. So you could do friends.insert and say -2 in order to refer to the middle position. -1. Although I don't think that's correct, because Sol is going to be -1, Katia is going to be -2. Okay. So if this is correct, it means that what you actually name is the thing beyond which you want to put something in. So that is a brilliant question. So this, yeah, you're right, Katia is in -2. But the rule is you name the position which is just before what you want to insert, presumably. Is that it? So if I put -2, then Gus will become -3. Fill in the code that would allow us to remove, we need to work on that. Fill in the code that would allow us to remove the 5th element. So counting words, the everyday notion of 1, 2, 3. Remove the 5th element from the following list. So we have cheese, pepperoni, garlic, pineapple, mushroom, the 5th element. So I'm going to do pizza toppings, .pop, and then 4, the 5th element, which is 0 up to 4. Understand? Good. Don't rush. Which of the following lines of code will tell us how many times win appears in the list game results? So the list is called game results. So it's game results.count and then pass in win, isn't it? Good. Which of the following commands will return the length of the list mylist? Is it mylist.len, or is len like a function and we pass in mylist? Or is it a method? Or do we use the word length and pass in mylist? Or do we do it as a method with the word length, mylist.length? Well, we don't use the word length. I think it's a function. I think it's len mylist. Correct. Which of the following lines of code would slice the list BC from mylist? So let's be careful here. We know how difficult this is. So we have the 0th position, the 1st position, the 2nd position, the 3rd position, the 4th position. Index 4. Index position 4. And we know we have the principle of slicing from left to right. So first we specify our wanted lower slice on the left. So how do we refer to this? Well, it's 1, it's not 0. So 1, and then we want the unwanted upper. So we need to name D. If we want C, we need to name D for our right-hand slice. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. 1:3. Mylist 1:3. Good. The element B has index 1, because Python is 0 indexed, and the element C has index 2. This code selects starting at index 1 and up to, but not including index 3. Which list would be created by running this code? So we have the list function, list, and we feed in as an argument the range of 2, 14, 4. Now, what does range 2, 14, 4 produce? Well, the answer is a range starting at 2 and going to 13 and including 13, with each number in that range representing 4 elements. So we'd have 2, which would stand for, well, if you do 2 plus 4, you get 6. So 2 would stand for 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So 2 plus 2, then 6. So it turns out that if you add the step and the first one, you get the next step. So it would be 2, 6, but notice that there are 3 possible, or 3 imaginary elements between 2 and 6. You've got 3, 4, and 5, haven't you? So which list would be created? 2 and 6. So yeah, I'm looking for one beginning 2, 6 and an ending and including 13 but not 14. This is the unwanted upper, so it can't be this first option because we've got 14 here, so we have to go for 2, 6, 10. Which of the following would create a range object that starts at 3 and goes up to 15? Again, this English wording, up to 15, is that inclusive or or exclusive? It would be interesting if you did a poll of people and said, what do you think? Intuitively, do you think it includes 15? If I say it goes up to 15, I think it is. I think actually if you said go up to 7, if I said to a child, I want to test if you've learnt your numbers in Spanish or something, and go up to 7, they'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They'd say 7. They'd go 6, 7. And if I said goes up to 15, usually I think intuitively it would include 15. But so they've had to add, and they ought to have, they're right to, non-inclusive. So starts at 3, goes up to 15, which means we want 14 in it. So the unwanted upper, we want to mention 15 and increments of 4. So 3 to 15, so mention 15, and then 4. So 3, 15, 4. Well, there it is, 3, 15, 4. Which of the following lines of code would remove breakdancing from the list Olympic sports? Well, pop. To remove an item, .pop. So I'm going to do Olympic sports .pop. Here, let's start with the top option. Here they've fed in square brackets breakdancing. Well, that's not right. That's not how you use square brackets. Here they've used rounded brackets and put in -2. Well, that means we'd go -1, -2. That doesn't seem right because that seems to be referring to volleyball. Olympic sports.pop 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. That doesn't seem right because it's referring to volleyball and we want to remove breakdancing. And Olympic sports.pop, well, it must be this one. So it must be that if you don't put in any index or any sort of specifier and you just do .pop on a list, it just takes the last thing off or extracts the last thing out. Because if we assigned this to a variable and printed the variable, it wouldn't give us hockey, swimming, fencing, volleyball. It would actually just give us breakdancing. So it extracts things. When we say remove, we mean focus on the thing you are removing. We focus on that. We don't mean remove as in throw out, so that when we print this, we get everything apart from the breakdancing that was thrown out. No, we remove like the way we remove diamonds. So it's Olympic sports.pop. And because breakdancing is last in the list, we don't have to give any argument. Which of the following would be generated by the code snippet? Let's look at the code snippet then. We assign to my list a list A, B, C, D, E, F. We have 11 elements. Whoa, we have 6 elements. Don't know where that came from. Print my list from 2, and then we have our unwanted upper 5. So we'll include C, which is in the 2if position, and E is in position the 2if, the 3if, the 4if, the 5if. F is the 5if position, or 6 for the everyday people. F is the 5if position, so that's the unwanted upper. We won't have F, we will have E and D and now C. So C, D, E. Which of the following code selects the last 3 elements of my list? Now think about this. 0 is a problematic number because it appears in both the positive numbering scheme and it appears in the negative numbering scheme. So we have to sort of make a choice and say, well, which team is 0 on? We can't have 0 referring to 2 things in the list, 2 different things. And so we actually decide to make 0 part of the positive numbers. So we have the first position and then the 0th position, don't we? Which is on the left-hand side of the list. And so if you're going to use negative numbers, and you should have remembered that the last element is always -1, then if you want to refer to the last thing in a list, it's not 0 you're thinking about, it's -1. So if we say, and remember also the principle of slice on the left, then the right, even if you're using negative numbers. So this will do the left-hand slice first in the 3th position and go to the, well, first to the right-hand slice. Now, because we've put nothing for the right-hand slice, it means it is not 0 exactly, but the most extreme option on the right-hand side. So we don't know how many elements are in the list, so we don't know if 3 is the 3rd to last position. We know 3 is the 4th item from the beginning, 0 if 1st, 2nd, 3rd, but that has nothing to do with whether 3 means that we get the last 3 elements of the list. Do you understand? What if the list is 100 things long? If we do the left-hand slice at the 3rd element, we're going to get a 90, we're going to get 97 elements in the output, aren't we? So no, not that one. How do we refer to the last 3 elements? Well, we have -1, -2, and -3. And I want you to remember the unwanted upper principle. So we want all 3 of those last 3 elements, but we have to use the unwanted upper for the right-hand selector. If we say we'll do the left-hand slice with at -3, so the 4th one from the 4th one counting from the right, yeah, -1, -2, no, the 3rd one from the right, -1, so -1 here, then then -2, then -1, -2, -3. So we'd get that, but it's because that's our left-hand slice, our lower bound, as it were, we include that -3 element. We take that. Then we take the -2 if element, and then we take the -1 if element, because we've got nothing here. Now, I just want to explain. You might think that the unwanted upper means that if we are referring to the last item by leaving that blank, by just doing colon closing square bracket, right? We've just put colon closing square bracket. If that means just colon, what that means, those 2 characters, is get the last item, and the unwanted upper holds, then it would mean get everything except the last item. So it clearly, the unwanted upper doesn't quite, we've misunderstood the unwanted upper, if you want to say that refers. Something has to give, because we're getting the -1 if item. The only way to maybe make it make sense is, well, what you've got is just to remark upon the fact that in a situation where we did want the -1 if item, and the unwanted upper held, which meant we couldn't actually just name -1, well, we'd literally have no way of doing things. We'd have no way of getting it. So there must be a rule that says, okay, if you are put it this way, if we put No, because if we put -1 there, I think that we wouldn't get the last item. Good. So you have to put nothing to refer to the end. So this colon square bracket where there's no character that actually has been typed out for the right hand slice of our 2 slices to get the chunk that we want. It means something other than. I think, yeah, it is referring. It's not referring to 0. That's problematic as something to say because 0 is the first counted item on the left hand side. But it refers to the extreme right hand side of the list. It doesn't, yeah. So we can sort of make it so that the unwanted upper principal does hold. And basically what we're doing here is referring to our upper, which is unwanted, because it's kind of the imaginary item which is beyond the -1 if item. Okay, so we got 91% working with lists in Python. And the thing we really didn't get right was this insert function. So we need to work on the insert function. The question was, which of the following lines of code will insert Gus at the middle element of the list friends? I thought that because I want Gus to be in the middle, the 2if position, the second position, the 2if position, yeah, I'd put friends, 2. But the correct answer is to actually refer to this Katia, the thing that's in Katia, the -2if, so 0, -1, -2. To correctly insert an element in a list at a specific position, the dot insert method must be used with the list's name and then followed by, meaning having arguments which are the index and the value to insert, so -2, Gus. In Python, using a negative index like -2 allows you to target positions from the end of the list, well we know that, which in this case results in Gus being inserted as the middle element. So there's no comment in that explanation on the fact that we've named -2, and if we were to actually put Gus in at -2, he would not be in the middle, would he? Because we'd have Annabelle, Greg, Katia, and then Gus, and then Sol. And so it would be Katia in the middle if we literally put Gus in at position -2. So what we seem to do is name. There's something, just remember that when you're doing dot insert, there's something funny about it. To be honest, all I need to do is make sure that there's something in my head that goes, oh, just check the documentation if I was doing this in real life on a production system. I don't need to remember the exact rule, I just need to remember that it's worth checking how it works. Dot insert. It kind of what you do is you name the thing that you want to sort of paste it on top of. So the way I think of it is, what I want to do is kind of insert Gus, the word Gus, on top of these 2 strings, right? So what I'm doing with the syntax is kind of naming this block here, which is in the -2if position, so it knows to sort of plonk it onto that. So hence why I put -2, and if we're working from this way where it goes, okay, keep -2 in place and insert on top of that. Okay, just that's how you should think of what we're doing when we specify that number with the dot insert method. Okay, and we're going to end it there for today. As you can see, we have finished working with lists in Python.